What's up, YouTube? Welcome to another video. Today's May 24th, 2023, and it's been a few weeks since I put out a video. I've just been tied up and busy with a bunch of things. And yeah, it was a long past time to put one out. First, though, I want to give a quick disclaimer. I'm not a financial advisor, so please do your own research. Consult with a financial advisor before making any investment decisions like buying gold, silver, or following any of the strategies I discuss on this channel. The channel is for entertainment purposes only. So yeah, quick update. Gold is at 1965 as I speak. Silver $23.25. Let's call it. Um, markets have been down the past few weeks. The Dow's trending down. S&P we're still at 4,100. It's just incredible how resilient these markets have been. Really, given all the bad news and this kind of like storm that's fast approaching. Nasdaq's at a little over just under 12.5. Oil is just under 74 bucks, and of course, last but not least, let's go Bitcoin, just over 26,000. So yeah, the debt ceiling talks is kind of all the rage. And I know that it's all just a bunch of BS, and of course they're going to raise the debt ceiling. They've never not raised it. It's complete ridiculous. It's complete, theater and all that stuff. Lots of other guys on YouTube and experts now have making commentary on this debt ceiling. So I'm not really going to go into it. We all know how this ends. They raise it. But meanwhile, it's causing a lot of chaos in markets because credit default swaps on U.S. Treasuries and all that stuff are going or blowing out and stuff like that. So, but just today, we're just reading CNBC here. Fed officials less confident on the need for more rate hikes, according to the minutes from last meeting or something like that. Yeah, no kidding. We know that credit is contracting. Banks are contracting credit. There's a huge banking crisis brewing. Lots of regional banks and that. Here in Canada, two banks reported today: Bank of Nova Scotia and Bank of Montreal. Of course, their loan loss provisions went up, and it's not looking good, and nor should it. We gorged on debt for 10, 15 years. We drove in inflated asset prices to astronomical levels, particularly here in Canada with our housing. It's just absolutely insane. And now it's kind of time to pay the piper. We have inflation raging. We have interest rates that have risen at the fastest pace ever. It's just absolute chaos. And honestly, guys, I'm kind of loving this, man. This is, if you're in a decent situation, if you've been prudent with your financial, your financial or your finances, I guess. I mean, this is like, it's no big deal. Um, what does that mean? That means having low debt, having some physical gold and silver, having, funded retirement plans, and you're not kind of, eking by paycheck to paycheck. Um, it is what it is. I'll just give this like little piece of advice. I hear lots of complaining from, people who are way over their heads buying houses and cars and all this stuff. And the problem is this, and it's always been this problem. People with little financial education who don't take the time to learn about different things, and we can blame the school systems for not teaching us this, or was ultimately I look at it as we're all individuals, especially once you're an adult. It's the onus is on you to figure things out, and it's not just this blame game. It's the government's fault, it's school, it's everybody else but my own. Ultimately, we control our own destinies, and the decisions that we make have ramifications and impact that we may not fully see at the time, but that's on us to kind of understand the risks associated with this stuff. And it's really not that hard. This is sort of my approach what I've tried to do with my family's finances in conjunction with my wife. And, we're a dual income household. And yes, we could have afforded a way larger home, a way more expensive home than we purchased. And, it's not like we live in, squalor or anything like that. We have a nice, 2-story, 4-bedroom, the double garage. Yeah, it's a nice house. But, we could have afforded a lot more than that. And, but we didn't, because why? Here is a cardinal rule that I swear by, and it's this: you want to be able to basically live off one person's income. Uh, that is a good little rule. It may not always be possible to follow that rule. Obviously, if you're just starting out and you're kind of in the lower income brackets, it's going to take a few years to kind of progress through, corporate America or Canada or whatever to kind of get to this level. But this is what you want to do. You want to be able to live your life and know that if you lose your job, or if your wife loses her job, or if something crazy happens, interest rates spike like they have, your lifestyle is essentially not going to be at too much risk. You can still eat what you eat at the grocery store. You can still live in your same house and drive your same cars, and basically kind of live your life unchanged. And how do you do that? Well, that is basically, if you make 50 grand, your wife makes 50 grand, try to live off 50 grand. um, and I don't mean like live off 50 grand and you're putting into our, I mean, 50 grand covers your housing, your car, your life basically, with no savings. If you do that, I do think that it is possible to weather a lot of storms. It's unlikely that both people would be put out of work at the same time. And it just kind of gives you that extra buffer. And then as you kind of grow older and you develop these savings, you start to save into your retirement, start to save in other accounts. Doesn't have to be a lot, just start a nest egg and watch that nest egg grow over time while you're paying down your debt, maybe paying down your mortgage, or you know what I mean? You always want to have a little bit of savings. And honestly, that's just straight lifestyle. We don't take 5 million vacations a year. And we hardly take tons of vacations as it is. It's actually one of the things that we do want to start doing more of now. Um, there's just no easy way for an average sort of family. I'm talking about middle class, maybe upper middle class, that sort of range. It's very, very difficult to get ahead without some level of sacrifice. And that might mean, if you can afford a Beamer, drive the Camry or something like that, or drive the whatever, Corolla or something like that. If you can afford, 2 or 3 vacations a year, maybe just do one. Especially when, like, if you have like young kids and stuff like that, when they're just little teeny tiny tots and that, like, they don't need to go to Jamaica and Hawaii and stuff like that. But anyway, I don't want to get off too much on a tangent. There are ways. I'm sick and tired of the complainers and the haters. Oh, it's impossible. It's impossible. This is loser mentality, and I won't have anything to do with that. So, the next thing I would say is, over time, as you save and invest and keep, rinse, repeat that process, you'll start to notice something, that, your passive income, the income from your investment portfolio, the income, from, maybe you have some rental properties or some dividend stocks or mutual funds, ETFs, whatever. That income, on a monthly basis will eventually get to the point where it's almost like you have a third adult income, basically. Once you get to like $3,000 to $5,000 a month, I mean, that's not terrible. I mean, you're not, sipping margaritas, on a yacht or anything like that, but it's not too terrible, and that will only improve, especially once you hit about 5 grand. I mean, it's essentially, one, either you or your spouse could stop working, and your lifestyle would fundamentally remain unchanged. That's really important, and that's really key. Because this is where we're starting to talk about, financial security, financial independence. And as that keeps going, eventually it will get to, things tend to move exponentially. especially when it comes to like investments and rates of return and all this stuff, especially once you're reinvesting dividends and that, you really do get a lot of growth. And eventually, maybe it will be enough to cover two incomes. So it's almost like you're working, your spouse is working, and you have, basically almost two other people working just off that passive income. And that's kind of where you get to be like, okay, you know what? Like we are good. Um, so yeah, anyways, that's just kind of my little tidbit tangent on personal finances. This is kind of how I'm thinking about it, because a lot of the information out there is just, you know it's right, but it's so broad and generalized. It may not be for everybody. Now, obviously, if you are just scraping by on food stamps, what I just said does not apply for you at all. But if you're middle class, if you're like middle to upper middle class, what I said makes a whole lot of sense for you. You don't need to keep getting promotion after promotion and climbing the corporate ladder and backstabbing and working 80-hour weeks, and you don't need to do that. It's going to take time. It might take 10, 15 years, but when you start in your like early to mid 20s and stuff like that, it's not that bad. You're still kind of learning life, and all the while you have money compounding. You didn't take out a monster mortgage. You didn't try to buy the souped up cars and huge SUVs, the giant pickup trucks and stuff like that. You kind of toned it down a little bit, and we're a little bit conservative in the early years, because that's really when it's easiest. The period right before kids kind of come into the picture is probably the best, time to really start saving hard, investing, and that type of thing. Because that once kids come along, you get, you might have daycare expenses, summer camps, all sorts of different things. Kids are super expensive. Um, and it does kind of set you back a little bit. But if you have that buffer, if you have that, if you have that, follow that strategy, live on one income. I mean, that's not that difficult. Um, but yeah, anyway, so moving on, talk about gold. So yes, a few weeks ago, I mentioned I sold, my Sprott physical silver fund. It was at kind of hit its all time high. Now it's right back. It's not right back down, but silver's come off quite a bit, and even gold as well. So I am sort of happy. I've been doing this sort of almost like a pair trade. I've been kind of buying some Canadian energy stocks, and when oil and gas are up, I sell them and buy gold miners when it's down, and then kind of vice versa. It works out generally. I don't want to tell anybody to do that, because right now it's kind of gone against me. I ended up buying some Newmont, and Newmont is massively kind of underperforming right now. But I just feel like, of course, they just had that merger with Newcrest. Now I do feel like there's kind of a lot of good things with Newmont, and obviously it's a major. It's going to be the largest gold company in the world. They bought Goldcore a couple years back. It's going to be around. It's going to survive. It pays a nice dividend. I totally expect for everything to kind of work out. But there's just a couple different types of risks. Number one, the first type of risk I'm really concerned about is it's a major market meltdown. And that's why I'm still kind of cash heavy, money market funds, cash, that type of stuff, because I just do not have a whole lot of faith that this market's really going to hold up. I think the situation seems to be getting worse. We just had the here in Canada, the financial or regulatory review or financial system review or whatever came out, and there's huge, of course, debt levels. Canadian debt levels are right at the top of the list. There's all sorts of craziness happening in the world. Of course, there's inflation. There's problems in Europe, problems with the U.S. regional banks. There's a lot of weakness out there, and there's just kind of a lot of things breaking right now. And it's very, very uncertain as to how this is all going to play out. I watched a Druckenmiller interview there a couple weeks ago, and he was basically saying, "Look, I can make the case for inflation, next year or 2024 or five, or I can make the case for deflation." And that's kind of where really since 2020, those have it's kind of oscillated between the two, and if you look back at some of my earlier videos from like 2020, it was basically inflation or deflation. Like we don't really know. Short term yes, you might be right on a call short term, inflation. But now, we're staring down the barrel of a gun, basically, of deflation, massive deflation. There's huge credit contraction. Banks aren't lending, and this is kind of when, things start to really get jammed up, and bad things start happening. So you definitely want to be playing it safe. If you want to be buying a little bit of gold or silver, that's fine. I got a link in the description below. Check that out. Silver Gold Bull. They're great. They price match. They do all sorts of stuff. That's usually where I get the majority of my kind of just bullion coins. The older coins, the kind of collector coins, I just get it from my LCS. But anyway, yeah. So there's lots going on. I did find another really interesting coin that I picked up. I haven't received it yet. I should get it maybe later today or tomorrow, but I am quite anxious to show that off to you guys. I'm not going to give away what it is right now, but it wasn't a huge expense. But it just kind of fits. I've been buying a little piece of gold every kind of here and there. Last month I bought that Romanian 20 Lai metal. It was a really interesting coin. This is kind of in that sort of same vein. I wanted to kind of get another thing interesting. That's kind of what I do. It's with some of the old gold, and which may actually work out, in our favor, I guess. If you hold, 4.9 fine bullion, there's more and more talk. I saw Doomberg talking about this, and I think others had mentioned it before. There's always a possibility that governments could seize that, declare it illegal and force you to, turn it in. But oftentimes, when it comes to like collector coins and stuff like that, like old coins, those kind of escape the net. They make provisions so that they don't kind of piss everybody off, whoever had an old coin or something like that. And not to say that that couldn't change, but typically that's sort of what happened. So if you have like maybe some, old gold coins and maybe like a little collection, that stuff may be saved. You may actually be able to keep that, and it's still very, very valuable. You may, in a world where they seize gold, you may be able to borrow against that. Certainly you'd be able to trade for things and stuff like that. So I think like Lynette Zhang in the US makes a really strong case for that down there. She's always advocating, buy old, constitutional gold and pre-33, that type of stuff. Here in Canada, it's I don't know. I have some old Canadian gold. I have European and US, and it's just, you just maybe want to kind of diversify your stack if that's what you're doing. Of course, there's no guarantees. They may not do anything, and we don't even really know how this is all going to shape up going forward. We don't know what role gold or silver will play in any sort of system reset or reorganization and stuff like that. It may not play much of a role at all, or it may play a huge role. There's a lot of stuff I see on YouTube now talking about, China and Russia, and they're gonna, create their own. The BRICS nations are gonna do all this stuff. They're gonna back it with gold and this and that. They're gonna do. We hear all sorts of things that this is how it's gonna happen, and my guess is that everybody's gonna be dead wrong, and something completely different will emerge. But nonetheless, it is good to kind of diversify. I'm sort of a coin collector, so I don't really care. I'll hold this stuff for a long time, and I'll be very happy with it. In fact, I'll be happy to pass it down to my children and their children, and that type of thing, right? You want to kind of keep a little bit of generational wealth going that might escape any sort of like death taxes or, estate taxes, that type of thing, right? So, but anyway, so that's going to be it for today's video. Hope you guys enjoyed, some pearls of wisdom about personal finance, and some of my thoughts on this gold and just all the craziness that's been going on. Thanks so much. If you haven't done so already, please like the video, subscribe to my channel, and do me a huge favor, check out my website, My Road to Wealth and Freedom. The link is in the description below. I have tons of articles there about silver bullion coins, gold bullion coins, Canadian coins, American coins, you name it. There's all sorts of stuff in there. I plan on adding some more content. And if you're kind of more into the personal finance side, you can check out, I publish a net worth report every month and a passive income report. The odd time I might kind of give my some little updates interspersed in there about where markets are at and kind of banking, my thoughts on banking crisis and that type of thing. So please share it all far and wide. I really appreciate all the support I've received on YouTube and on my website as well. Thanks so much. Have a great day, and look forward to my next video where I show off that coin finally. Cheers.